Dragon Ball fans from all around the world, doesn't it piss you off knowing that Demigra is actually more of a badass in Dragon Ball Heroes than how he was in Dragon Ball Xenoverse? And today, we're going to be taking a look at the new Demigra form in Dragon Ball Heroes in comparison to how he was depicted in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Now, I think it's pretty evident by now that Demigra will not be making his return in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, but as you guys can already see on your screen, Demigra has a new form after transforming from his somewhat beast form down to a very slimmer version to what seems to be a hybrid-like form. We see that half of his body looks very humanoid while the other half looks very beastly, sort of like Janemba, how he has a tail, except he has blue legs, a blue tail, and of course a really badass looking body. Now he looks to be very strong, and of course he looks to be combating not only Timebreaker Vegeta but Time Patroller Goku, and over in the background we saw Xeno Gohan alongside Time Patroller Trunks as well. When I saw Xeno Gohan, I couldn't really believe it, but of course, you know, we see Demigra taking them all on. But I want to know from you guys down in the comment section below, and I'll be posting a poll down in the description. I want you guys to vote. Do you guys believe that Demigra should return in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, yes or no? And I want to know from you guys, do you think it'll make sense for Demigra to ever return? Now, I really think that the odds of him showing up is slim to none, but the poll will be located down below, and I want to know from you guys, do you guys believe that he should be included in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, yes or no? Now, I believe that he should be included as a DLC character. Now, in terms of the actual story, I think Demigra is pretty much over and finished. There's no reason to bring him back, especially if you're going to be bringing back Mira and Toa. So I think bringing back Demigra will be pointless by now, especially the way he was depicted in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. But I do think, however, that somewhere down the line, they ought to include this character as a DLC, you know, playable option. Now, of course, we have Timebreaker Bardock in the game being confirmed, so why not have Demigra as well? Now, I want to know down in the comment section below, how strong do you guys think this new Demigra is? Obviously enough, we don't really know if this is his final form. Presumably enough, we can all make the assumption that it is, because it looks to be like his final stage. I mean, obviously enough, every single villain that we've seen thus far in Dragon Ball has a very similar final form like feature, to where like they have like a slimmer look as opposed to like their previous looks to where they were all bulky and whatnot. A lot of people are often comparing this new Demigra look to Bojack, which was kind of, you know, a little absurd, but I can see why people are making that comparison. But I also want to go on somewhat of a little rant as to how weak they made Demigra seem in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, because in Dragon Ball Heroes, Demigra is literally influencing everyone and everything to go up against our heroes. He has a lot of power, he has a lot of influence as to what's going on behind the Shadow Realm and whatnot, so we see how powerful and how menacing he is. But in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, he was somewhat of a background character. Now, I don't really have too much of a problem with that, because we also have Mira and Toa, but Demigra also played a huge part within Dragon Ball Xenoverse, and having to look at what they've done with him in Dragon Ball Heroes, he seems to be more of a badass in Dragon Ball Heroes than how he was in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, thus creating a very, very weak villain within the actual timeline. So I want to know down below, what are your overall thoughts on this new look? To me, he looks a lot like Janemba, and again, I really hope that down the line, they kind of like somewhat bring him back in a way. I mean, it'll be kind of weird because we saw like how he pretty much got eradicated by your Saiyan and Goku and whatnot. So we saw how he pretty much, you know, was obliterated by your final Kamehameha wave in an essence. And, you know, having to have Demigra come back would be a little weird as well, because that'll also go against the grain of him having to get obliterated towards the very end of the game. But if they were to bring him back, how would you guys like to see him return? And again, keep in mind, none of this stuff is canon. It's only within the Dragon Ball Heroes timeline. So certain people were talking about, oh my god, this is going to be the new god in Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Heroes has nothing to do with Dragon Ball Super, just FYI, and of course, you know, with the actual games itself, but in a very small way, it seems as if Dragon Ball Heroes has somewhat of an influence over on Dragon Ball Xenoverse, and I really hope that's the case, because Dragon Ball Heroes has included very, very awesome characters. The story looks very, very awesome. The animation, as we already know, is possibly, arguably, the best animated Dragon Ball thing that we have going on in our modern generation today. If anybody out there wants to refute that, let me know in the comments, but I think that Dragon Ball Heroes has one of the best animation when it comes to, you know, cinematic things like openings and whatnot. So it bar none, and has very, very good animation. So I really hope that down the road they get to include characters from that game. Although certain characters within that game are just way too far-fetched, we see the outcome of Dragon Ball Fusions even with all these what-if characters. So I think including what-if characters and even evolved characters like Demigra would be awesome. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about Demigra. Do you guys prefer the Heroes version or the Xenoverse version? And what are your overall thoughts on him having to look very, very weak within Xenoverse? Because in Xenoverse, he just looked like a scrub. He didn't really do any damage. You didn't really even have the option to play as him, not unless of course you had the mod, which I was very upset about because he played a very important role within Xenoverse. But comment down below and let me know. Thank you all for watching. Once again, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more daily uploads. If you guys enjoyed it, if you guys liked the new look, punch that like button square in the face, guys. Leave your thoughts down below. Tune in for more, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.